Hello, my fabulous community. Happy 2026. I'm sorry it's February before I'm getting to you. January got carried away on me, and so we never quite managed to get things to you in the community this month, last month now. I'm really sorry. Thank you for your patience with me. We will get better at this the more we go on, so thank you for holding in there. I hope that in January you had a chance to really think about how you want to grow as a leader in 2026. If you haven't had a chance to think about that yet, pause for a second right now. Go, if I get to the end of this year and I've grown as a leader, what one thing would be great to feel like you'd improved on? And then maybe pay a little bit of attention to that. Just once a month, even just a little visual prompt somewhere will help you progress just a little bit during the year. And we can pull apart in conversation if that would be helpful for you, how to dive more deeply into improving that skill. Okay, so let's bring February in. February in Nurturing Confidence, we are focusing on managing ourselves with confidence. Now, those of you who have worked with me for a while will know very well that I think that confidence is a myth. Ironic, given that my business is called Nurturing Confidence, but confidence as a destination is what I think is a myth. So we have a culture that says when you will be confident, then everything will be okay. The reality about how confidence works is that it moves in peaks and troughs, day to day, moment to moment, through my year and through my career. Yes, we slowly build confidence over time, and our baseline of confident versus not confidence days keeps shifting, but it's a continuous work in progress. And I think it's really important that we practice confidence as a practice and not as something that I achieve. So what do I want to think of this month, or invite us to think of this month? As we're starting the year, I want us to think about how does my confidence affect the way that I show up for myself, maybe managing my time, maybe managing my interaction with others. How is my confidence showing up in that at the moment? So I want to invite you to think about, as you start this year, on your confident days, on the days when you're like, yeah, I've got this, what are you noticing is real for you now? Let's do a new baseline and go on the great days. What are your thoughts like? What are the stories you're telling yourself at the moment on those days? What are your feelings like? What does it physically feel like at the moment when you're having one of those really good days? What are your actions? What are the things that you're doing nowadays on confident days? Maybe you used to dive into lots of detail. Now you lean into conversations with your people. Just pay attention, notice where you're actually at right now in the growth of your confidence. And then have a think about what's your communication like on the great days now. So let's re-baseline the I'm confident enough to do this days, yeah? Thinking, feeling, actions, and communication. And then we're going to do the same. I want you to re-baseline what it's like now on your tough days. So on the days when you feel like you're struggling, it's difficult now, what is it actually like? So what we tend to do is we keep the same story going for a really long time, and we don't actually shift our identity to what not confidence looks like now for me. And so we can unintentionally hold ourselves in the same pattern of not confident behaviors because we haven't actually noticed that things have shifted a bit for us. So I want you to think about, on one of the days in the last few months when you've really struggled for some reason, or you felt like, I don't know if I can do this. I want you to think about the same four things. So what are my thoughts like? What are the stories I tell myself on those days? What am I feeling? What am I physically feeling on those days in my body? What do I notice? For me, one of the things, I get this really overwhelming sense of tired. I'm like, I'm too tired to deal with this. It's not necessarily a real tired, yeah? And the more I notice that each year, the more that I notice actually that feels a bit more like an achiness. It feels a bit more like heaviness in my tummy, not actually the kind of tired that I've always described it as being. What are your actions? Are you still procrastinating on those days? Are you diving in and maybe you're rushing too fast nowadays and kind of overcorrected from something you used to do? What are the actions you take on those tougher days now? And how are you communicating? So what's the pattern of the ways that you communicate? Maybe, I have always withdrawn, and actually I've been really working at not withdrawing. But in not withdrawing, I'm a bit snappy. Yeah. Okay. So that's the new something I might want to pay attention to tell me that I'm having one of those, I'm not sure if I can do this kind of moments. Okay. So we're going to re-baseline ourselves. And then I want us to actually spend some time this month going, okay, what is it that if I were to shift my confidence forward a little bit this year, what are the moments in which that would be most helpful for me to practice? So when I say shift my confidence forward, what I mean is, what are the moments in which if I could tap into my more confident self quicker, faster, more effectively, then that would add most value to me right now in my role where I'm at. So what are those moments that you'd like to be more confident in this year? And then we're going to think about, okay, how can we make that a more confident moment? So let's say we want to get a bit more confident speaking up in meetings this year. Yeah, okay. So that behavior specifically might be, in every meeting, I'm going to say something. Let's keep it real baseline. Yeah, this year, I want to make sure that I'm speaking up consistently in every meeting I go to. Okay, so which version of my confident self am I going to need to tap into here? Is it about how I hold myself when I'm confident? Is it about the type of prep I've done so I'm ready to communicate? Is it about who I've spoken to before I walked into a meeting so I feel more confident to speak up? And I want us to think about once we've gotten really specific about what that behavior is, okay, how am I going to remember to pause and breathe, to shift my body, to connect with that intention before the very moments that I want to be more confident this year? So we're going to give it a little bit of structure around what it takes to be more confident. And it's a practice, right? Being more confident is just a state of being moment to moment. The more I'm aware of what that state is, and the more I practice showing up in that way, then the more confident I become over time. So what's one thing that you want to become more confident at this year, or in the moments of? And let's break down that. What does it look like in terms of behavior? What's the story you're telling yourself about that thing? How are you going to pause and catch that story? Notice the feeling. How are you going to shift your body into your more confident self? And then how are you going to behave in those moments? And the last piece of this is, how am I going to notice that I've done it? So often we actually don't have that kind of sustained growth of confidence over time, or recognize the shift in our own confidence, because we actually don't reward the very behavior that is making us more confident, or we don't notice that actually I did okay then, and that's not a moment I need to worry about because I was pretty confident then. So I want us to go, that one behavior you want to shift this year, how am I going to notice that I tried something different? How am I going to notice that it improved? And how am I going to reward myself for that? Maybe it's a tick on the box. Woohoo, I spoke up in a meeting. Maybe it's a end of week reflection. How did I do in my meetings this week? Maybe it's a check in with a coach or mentor to go, hey, how did I do this month? I'm actually going to pay attention to that. So, that was a lot of things really fast. Welcome back to Nurturing Confidence. Amy speaking too fast on any given day. Okay, so what are we doing this month? We are going to re-baseline myself now. Where is my confidence actually at in 2026 as we begin the year? What do I do on my days or in my moments when I feel like I've got enough confidence? And what about on the days when I don't? What are my thoughts like? What are my feelings like? How do I act? How do I communicate? And what's one behavior, moment, context in which I'd like to get more confident this year? And let's set ourselves up for success in trying to do that. How am I going to notice it's one of those moments? How am I going to pause? What's the behavior that I'm really intending for? And how am I going to notice that I did it so I can grow that over time? All right, that feels like a lot of work to do. I hope it's mostly thinking and not too much time. That's the plan. Let me know if it's not. I will share with you some resources as we go through the month, some articles. There's a couple of really interesting TED Talks that have come out in the last year, so I'll send you one or two of those to have a look at in this space. Might disrupt our thinking a little bit further around confidence. And then we will be live in the community on the 10th of Feb, Tuesday the 10th of Feb. We are going to be live at 4 p.m. on Tuesdays this year. Experiment with being a bit later in the day and see if that helps us have more people that we can reach at that time. I know there's lots of you out there who are enjoying grabbing the resources but not able to make it to the live sessions. Totally okay. Love for you doing that. And if there's anything we can do to make it easier for you to access those live sessions, please let us know, because I'm really happy to flex and adapt. This is very much still a work in progress, building this community, and I would really love to make it valuable and useful for you all. And then at the end of the month, we'll have another reflection, and then it'll be March. We'll start it all again. No, all right, team, thank you. Be kind to yourselves this month, yeah? We build confidence by noticing the good stuff that we do, by really debriefing when we've done something well, and maybe not ruminating quite so much about the things that didn't, but learning from them instead. Anyway, I hope this is a month where you get to play with and just notice what's the truth about confidence for you versus the stories that you tell yourself about your confidence. All right, team, we are nurturing confidence. We're doing it live together. Thank you so much. I will see you hopefully in our live session mid-month. I'll see you then. Bye.